Hello, welcome to Cinnamon Babe Horror Stories. I'm Cinnamon Babe, and every Friday I discuss creepy topics while I do my makeup. So if that interests you, please like and subscribe, and please enjoy the video. Hello, so different setup today. The audio that I tried to do yesterday just completely did not work for whatever reason, so I have to redo the whole video, but it's okay. No problem. So we're gonna redo the video, it's just a different setup. Today's story is about a young girl. She probably was like a teenager at the time. Her name is Lainey. And Lainey's boyfriend, we'll just call him Guy, invites her to his watchtower to stargaze. He's really into stargazing. And a watchtower is kind of like a tree house, except it's just really, really tall. And it's like a house on stilts, kind of, or like a hunting blind, something like that. So she agrees to go, and as they are climbing up the watchtower, the ladder is like kind of swaying in the wind, and Lainey remembers her fear of heights. By the way, no, this is not really my color, but I'm able to like blend it well. It's from Fit Me by Maybelline, and it's the 312 Golden Dior or whatever. But I'm able to blend it. So Lainey is uncomfortable, so halfway up the ladder, she tells Guy, hey, I'm not comfortable. I do have a fear like of heights. So Guy's like, okay, I get it. You know, we don't have to do it this way. There's another way we can stargaze. The only thing is we have to walk through the woods. But he's like, don't worry, it's only like a minute and a half walk. So as the two are walking through the woods, Lainey is realizing that this is not a minute and a half walk. This is more like a 10-minute walk. And she says it's pitch black. You can barely see your hand in front of you. It's so dark. And she says finally she sees like an old barn. And she's like, okay, are we on someone's property? She asks Guy, like, are we on someone's property or someone's land? And he kind of blows her off. And she's like, you know what? That's it. I don't want to do this anymore. I don't feel comfortable. I'm creeped out. Can we just go back to the car? So Guy's kind of annoyed, but he agrees to do it. So they turn back. So as they're walking back to the car up the path that they came from, Lainey starts to feel very paranoid because anytime like a person is away from civilization and away from like people and they're supposedly by themselves, if they are not really by themselves, they can pick up on like bad energy and bad feelings. Like they can pick up on another person's energy. So she starts to feel very paranoid, and the hairs in the back of her neck are standing up, and she just feels very uncomfortable. Guy keeps trying to reassure Lainey that, you know, we're fine, nobody's out here with us, we're good, like, you don't have to worry about anything. But it's not working. Lainey is so scared. She's getting to the point where she's walking behind Guy and she's stepping on the backs of his shoes. She's so afraid. And the paranoia just gets worse from there. And she says to Guy, there's someone out here with us. And the moment she said that, a rock was thrown at them. It missed them, and it hit right above them and landed on the path in front of them. So Lainey just takes off running. She leaves Guy behind, and she just takes off running. She keeps running until she reaches the car. Mind you, they're at least 10 or 11 minutes away from the car, walking distance. So she ran and just ran and ran and ran. So she reached the car, and when she reached the car, she tried all the doors, but of course they were locked. And she's just frantically thinking about all the what ifs, like what if somebody's chasing us, what if somebody's hunting us, like what could possibly be happening right now. And then she hears Guy coming out of the woods giggling, and he's like, oh my god, that rabbit scared me. And she just goes ballistic at that point because she's pissed off, and she's like, now why would a rabbit be able to freaking throw a rock? Rabbits are not capable of doing that. Like, why was that your conclusion, pretty much? So they drive home. On the drive home, she's trying to like figure out with Guy, like, what was that? What happened? And Guy's just not really taking it seriously. Needless to say, the two broke up, and she never really wanted to talk to him again because he just was kind of goofy. And to this day, Lainey doesn't know what that was out in the woods, but she is adamant that she doesn't think it was paranormal because of the energy that she picked up on. She feels like it was a human energy, and that really scares her worse because she's like, what type of person is out in the woods with no no flashlight and just out in the woods waiting for someone and following two teenagers? Like, it just really freaks her out to this day. So Hannah and her husband bought their first home, and the house was built in the 1960s. It was an older home. Every night before Hannah would go to bed, she would tuck the dining room chairs into the table when she would clean up, and then they would go to bed. Well, every morning when they would wake up, one of the chairs, and it was always the same chair, would be pulled out from the dining room table, and it would be facing the hallway where the bedrooms are. So Hannah says that it took her and her husband a while to figure out that this was happening on its own, but they never really they just kind of left it at that. It was weird to them, but they just got over it. And so Hannah goes to say that sometimes at night when she would get up to get a drink or go to the bathroom, the chair would be where it always was, facing the hallway, and it would be basically when she would come out of her room facing her, and in the reflection of the window there'd be an old man sitting in it. But for some reason that does not freak her out. I don't know why. So here's where it gets bad. One night, Hannah was having a sleep paralysis experience, but she called it a dream. But in my opinion, a lot of times you be awoke. Those usually are not dreams. But she called it a dream, and she said in the dream, she could see an 8-foot, skinny, shadowy figure standing over her husband while he slept, and it was watching him knelt over a little bit, which is freaking horrible. And the next morning when she woke up, she told her husband everything, which I love. I love that she communicated that to him, because I feel like other stories, they don't really communicate because they're oh, someone's going to think I'm crazy. But anyway, she tells her husband what she saw, and he's shocked because he dreamed the same thing, except when he woke up, he could see the blackness over his face, looking at him. Months later, one day, Hannah and her husband are sitting in the living room when all of a sudden they can hear scratching noises on the outside of the window. And instead of investigating it, which I can kind of understand, but at the same time, you're not going to see what the heck that is or do anything. they decide to go to the bedroom. They're okay, let's just go to bed. Let's just go to our room. So they get up and go to the room. The moment they go into the room, they hear a bunch of crashing and banging. And they said that they had really large bookcases in their living room. And the way it sounded like those had crashed to the ground. And when that happened, their two cats rushed into the room with them, and they slammed the door. While they're in the bedroom trying to figure out what's going on, they decided to grab their firearm and head back out to see what happened. So they go back out to the living room, and they can see that nothing happened. The whole house is in order. There's nothing that fell. They checked the entire house. Everything's in place. And they know they're not crazy because the cats reacted. So later on in life, while still living in the house, the two have their first child, a baby girl. And one day, while Hannah is holding the baby is kind of looking behind Hannah. And the baby is laughing and giggling and trying to play with something behind Hannah. And when Hannah looks back, she sees a white orb moving. And the baby was reacting to it. So here's the worst freaking part of the whole story. One night when Hannah's rocking the baby to sleep, the baby's room faces the hallway. And so Hannah says she's adamant that she was wide awake at the time and, very alert because the house is already creepy. And she says she can see the chair facing the hallway where it always ends up. Ooh, messed up. Anyway, where it always ends up. And she says, out of nowhere, a large, hooved, horned demon creature appears, and it's just standing in the middle of the hallway, standing there. And Hannah says at that moment, she just started to pray out loud to God. She doesn't really say what happens after that. She just moves on to the next morning. I'm guessing that it just disappeared. But the next morning she tells her husband what happened. She was fed up. She couldn't take it anymore. And so they decide to go to a Catholic church and get prayer. And along with the prayer, they receive holy water. And she requested a lot of holy water. And they take the holy water home. And she goes from room to room, sprinkling holy water all over the house. Oh yeah, they also gave her a cross like this big. So she puts the cross at the front of the house. And like I said, sprinkling holy water everywhere. And while she's doing that, she's praying. She has one of her Catholic friends with her while they're praying in every room. And they also bathe the baby in holy water. And then she goes to say that after that, they didn't experience anything else in that house. They lived in the house for at least 2 years. And they didn't experience anything else. And she says to this day, like, she's still like really affected by what happened. And so she still has the cross that she keeps with her. And she still, remains in prayer, which is great. And yeah, that is the end. Okay, so off camera, I just applied both of the wings. I did my little lip gloss and lip liner, and then I put on mascara. But that's the end of the 2 story times. They're both off of TikTok. One girl's name is Lainey and the other one name is Hannah. I think that's their TikTok names if you look. But what I found interesting was the first one I would consider like it's like poor judgment to like go out to the woods, especially young. Even if you are with somebody and not be armed. Dang, look, I just messed up because my eye was itching, but it's okay. Anyway, to go out to the woods like unarmed and you're just going to stargaze, I just think that was like a bad idea. And I believe that the girl who told the story realizes that it was a bad idea, which is why she broke up with the guy. But in the second story I just feel like the couple got a little too comfortable with like the scary things that were already happening, and it took for it to get horribly worse for like an actual creature to appear in your house for you to be like, okay, time to go get prayer. So I found that interesting because some people just do not scare easily, and I just do not relate to that because I get scared really easily. But thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe, and please stay tuned for the next video.